Namaste children. Welcome back to your social class. Dear children, how are you all? I hope you are all fit and healthy at your home. Dear children, let's begin our class with the Parayana Padal. This year, you are going to chant Mangalarubini. Let's start. Mangalarubini Madiyani Sulini Manmada Paniyale Sangarani Kida Sadadil Vandidam Sangari Saundariye Kangana Paniyan Kanimuga Kandana Karpaga Kaminiye Jai Jai Shankari Gauri Kripakari Dukka Nivarani Kamakshi. Dear children, today I am going to share you information about Kasturba Gandhi. Dear children, do you know who is she? Yes, she was the wife of Mahatma Gandhi ji. Yes, see, let us begin. Kasturba Gandhi was with her husband Mahatma Gandhi in England when the World War I broke out. So, when World War I was in the Mahatma Gandhi ji was in England along with his wife Kasturba Gandhi. Together they volunteered as auxiliary hospital workers among the Allied troops in Western Europe. So they ally means join. So after that they joined in the Western Europe. They both. In 1914 to 15, Kasturba Gandhi worked in Indian Army Hospital on England's southern coast, set up for some 16,000 Indian soldiers who had been wounded in France and Belgium. In 14 to 15, Kasturba worked in an Indian Army Hospital. So, on England's southern coast, to set up the 16,000 Indian soldiers who had been wounded in France and Belgium. Mrs. Gandhi was particularly anxious to see that no Indian patients suffered or felt embarrassed on those dedicated cushions to case distinction, wrote Dayaram Dabar, a fellow Indian medical volunteer at the hospital. So when she wasn't there, she was very anxious because there is no Indian patient suffered or felt embarrassed because of case distinctions. The question of case distinctions. And also she had wrote that Dayaram Darbar, a fellow Indian medical volunteer at the hospital. She wrote a book of Dayaram Darbar. In this situation she has made to write a book. She undertook to look after the feeding of seriously ill orthodox patients and often used to clean the utensils if they objected to being fed by non-Hindus. So, and also she undertook some of the patients who was suffered by orthodox. So, and also she was taking care of the patients, and also she often used to clean their used utensils, and also if they objected to being fed by non-Hindus. So, okay children, let's get started our class. Dear children, when you are at home, nowadays you are at home only. So when you are at home, if you have any problem, if you have any fight, if you have any quarrel with your siblings, children, what is the meaning of siblings? That's your own brother and sisters, okay? So if you have any quarrel with your friends or with your siblings, who will come and rescue from this fight or from this problem? Yes, of course, it is your parent, isn't it? So, and also what they say? They will explain why you should not fight. She will explain why you should not fight, why you should not fight with your siblings. Okay. And then in your school, you fight with your friend. So who came and rescued your fight or your problem? teacher, and also she will explain what is the good thing and what is the bad thing, isn't it? So likewise the same thing, it is also happened for countries in the world. Dear children, today I tell you about an organization that seeks to maintain a peace across the world. It is called the United Nations. So the United Nations doing the same thing. Okay, let's begin our class. The name of the lesson is the United Nations. The name of the lesson is United Nations. Children, this is very interesting lesson. So please listen carefully. Okay. The World Wars. World War I broke out in August 1914. It was a terrible war which several nations of the world were involved. So it is when the beginning of the World War I. On which date, ma? So it is on August 1914. In 1914, the World War I broke out. It was started. It was a terrible war in which several nations of the world were involved. So terrible, that is extremely and then very badly, very dreadful war in which several nations of the world were involved. All several nations mean most of the countries was involved in that World War I, and also the war was very terrible, very dreadful. Then the war started in Europe when the industrialized nation of the world became jealous of each other's part. So the war started in Europe. So in Europe the war was started. When the industrialized nation, what is the meaning of industrialized? Nothing but industrialized means more developed in economic level. So that is the meaning of industrialized nation. So the world became jealous. So they became envy. They showing the envy of each other part. Each other part means what? I am having a more power than you. So they are fighting with the. They are showing some jealous to the other countries. And then each country wanted its own empire to grow. So each country, each industrialized nation, that is an economically developed country, wanted its own empire, wanted its own kingdom to grow. The million of soldiers and other people were killed or wounded. Cities were destroyed and there was a serious shortage of food. So during the World War I, many million of soldiers were lost their life, and also the other people were killed. Not only the soldiers, the other people are living on the country, they were also killed and also wounded very badly. And the cities in the country are also destroyed, and there was a severe shortage of food. So there is a poverty occurs during the World War I. See, this is a picture of World War I. During the World War I, so it has happened there. And then now we are going to see about World War II. After a few years of peace, okay, after the World War ended, some of the years were getting us peace, and then World War II broke out, and the World War II again it has broke out in September 1939. So it was started on September 1939. It ended in 1945. So it was started at the year of 1939 and it was ended at 1945. Then USA dropped the atomic bombs over the two Japanese cities, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So you may aware these two countries, isn't it? So USA is such a developed country. So he dropped a bomb to destroy the total country of Japan. So he dropped the bombs to the two cities, which is an important city in Japan, that is Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The loss of life and the destruction of cities in the World War II was much greater than in the World War I. So the loss of life and then destruction means what? It destroyed. Many cities were destroyed in the World War II and was much greater than the World War I. When you compare to World War I, there is a more loss of life and more destruction of cities in the World War II. Then, so here again, what happened? The formation of the United Nations. How it has the United Nations formed? Let's know about that. After the World War II, the nations of the world came together to find a way of pretending war in future. So after the World War II, the nations of the world came together to find a way of pretending war. So after the World War II, there is a loss of many lives and many destruction of cities. So it is all happened. So all countries came together and they discussed about how to pretend the war. And then the tremendous destructions and the misery of two wars had made the wiser. So the tremendous destruction, there is a massive destruction, isn't it, ma? So there is a massive, tremendous means massive, very large, too high, too heavy. That is a tremendous destructions and the misery of the two wars. There is a misery means, what is the meaning of misery? There is a suffering. So a lot of sufferings of the two wars had made them the wiser. So a lot of loss of lives, destructions of cities, and more people are wounded, more people are killed. So these are all. This made the all country to think wiser. So how to prevent this war? Like that they have think wisely, that is very intelligently, very bravely, and as a result of their effort, the United Nations was born in the year 1945. So as a result, as at the end, they all discussed to start the United Nations. So the United Nations was started in the year of 1945. Then a set of rules called the Charter of the United Nations. So they have in the United Nations they had made some set of rules. Like what is the name of that rules? Charter of the United Nations. Then charter means the authority. So some of the rules was authored by the authority given by the United Nations and was made at the conference in the San Francisco, USA. So was made at a conference. That is made as some meetings in San Francisco, USA. And also it was signed by the 15 member countries on 24th October 45. So most of the countries, there is more than 50 countries, 50 countries, exactly 50 countries were signed. Okay, were signed in the United Nations. There is one of the member for the United. So at first only the 50 members of the countries are signed in that United Nations, and in the year of 1945 on 24th October. Today 193 countries are members of the United Nations. So when the United Nations started, only the 50 countries signed. But now at present, today there are 193 countries where the members of the nations, not where are the members of the United Nations. See, this is the building of United Nations. So how many countries are membered in this United population mark? So 193. And also the India is one of the member for the United Nations. See, this is our flag. Then let's go to the next one. Then the aims of the United Nations. So why they have started a United Nation, and the United Nation have some of the aims, some of the goals. Let's see. The aims of the United Nation. According to the Charter of UN, it's the aim are. According to the Charter, means that the authority which is given by the UN, some of the aims, some of the goals are to maintain international peace and security. So to maintain, so for all the countries, all international means all the country, the United Nations have the all countries to maintain the peace and security, that is safe. And then the main aim of the United Nations is to prevent war. So the main, it's a very important aim of the United Nations is to prevent the war, and disputes are discussed at the meetings and efforts are made to find the peaceful solutions. So dispute means disagreement. If they have any disagreement with the countries, they have to share in the meeting of the United Nations, and also the problems are shared in the United Nations at the meetings, and the efforts are made to find the peaceful solution. So the UN have getting the some of the remedies to maintain the peaceful of that country, respective country. Then sometimes when there is in danger of war between two nations, the UN sent a military force called the peacekeeping force to prevent war. So sometimes happen in the two countries, they have some more danger in the countries between the two nations. So at last the two nations are wanted to begin a war. So it is known by the United Nations, and also the United Nations, at last the United Nations sent some military forces if the two nations needed. So they send the military forces, and the name of the military force is called Peacekeeping Force. It was the military force of United Nations, and it is called Peacekeeping Force to prevent war. So to prevent war, they are sending the military force is called Peacekeeping Force. What is the meaning of the force? What is the name of the military force? Peacekeeping Force. And next, to develop the friendly relation between the two nations, that is between the nations. So here the United Nations insists the all country to become a very friendly, with other nations, and then to encourage the respect for human rights and the freedom to all the people. And also the United Nations insists all the countries to give a respect for the human rights. So every human have the rights to do their work. And also they have motivated, the United Nations encourage the countries to give a respect for the human, and also the freedom for all the people, and also they encourage them to give a freedom for each and every citizens of that country. All member nations of the UN are expected to ensure that human rights are upheld in the country. So all the members of the nation, that is all members of the nations of the United Nations, are expected to ensure the human rights are held. So they have to ensure. What is the meaning of ensure? That is a make sure. Make sure that is the human rights are upheld. Upheld means conform or support in their countries. Then to achieve the international cooperation in solving the economic and the social problems. To achieve the international, so each and every country have to develop. So and also they are solving some economic. See, if the country is having some of the problem in economic status, means the United Nations help them to give the hands to come across the some of the economic problems and also the social problems. It believes that the world can have lasting peace only when all the nations of the world achieve the progress and development. And also the United Nations strongly believe that if the nation lasting peace means what is the meaning of lasting peace? There is a permanent. If they want the peace in the world, that is in the country, particular country, permanent peace. If they want the permanent peace means the nation have to achieve the progress and development. If the country achieve the progress and developed country, then only the peace will be the permanent in that particular country. Therefore, it expects the richer nation to help the poor countries improve their living condition. It also helps to improve the education in these countries. So, the rich nations to help the poor country. So, the rich country have a lot of money and they are very developed in economic level, isn't it? So, only we are calling that as a richer country, that is a developed country. So when other nations are in a developing country or want to develop, those countries, the richer country have to give some help to the poor country. And also it also helps to improve the education in these countries. And also the richer country have to give some help for the education of the people in the living in the countries. Then to help the fight diseases and preserve the environment, and also the one of the important aim is to fight the diseases like the corona. Due to the corona, the WHO giving a more of the guidance, isn't it, ma? So likewise the same thing if they happen, the United Nations will help, and also to preserve to save our environment. And then Now we are going to see the principles of the United Nations. So there are some of the principles which is going on the United Nations. Now we are going to see one by one. See, all countries that are members of the UN are equal. However, developed or underdeveloped they may be. So the side of United Nations, all the countries are equal. There is no partiality, whether that is a richer country, whether that is a poor country. There the United Nations was not seeing that a partiality. So it is all countries, all the members of the nations, all the members of the United Nation, it will be equal for all. The rights should be equal for all the countries, those who are the members of the United Nations. Then all countries that are the members of the UN must obey the charter. So there are how many countries are member in the United Nations, ma? Yes, exactly, you are right. There is a 193 countries are membered in the United Nations. So those countries have to, that is, they must obey the charter which was given by the United Nations. Countries must try to settle their differences by peaceful means. So if it has happened something in the country have to settle. So within the country, if they have any problems, they have to settle down with the peaceful manner. So and also the UN will not interfere in the domestic affairs of any country. The same thing. So if it has happened and some problems in the in the country, the United Nations will not interfere to that problem, because if the problem raised between the two countries, then only the United Nations will involve in that problem and give some of the solution, isn't it? But if the problem raised in the country means, definitely the United Nations will not interfere in the problems in the country. Children, this is the principle for the United Nations. Dear children, I hope you are enjoy the lesson, because I enjoyed. So let's see in the next class. Thank you, children.